The movie begins in Southern California, where a young woman is driving her car through the mountains. Suddenly, small rocks fall and shatter her windshield. Moments later, a massive rock slide crashes down, sending huge amounts of rocks and dirt onto her car and pushing it over the edge of the road. The car flips and rolls down the hillside, but luckily, she survives when it gets stuck. When she looks outside, she realizes the car is barely hanging onto a few rocks. At the same time, Ray and the Los Angeles Fire Department crew are flying in a helicopter searching for the girl, accompanied by a journalist covering their work. When they spot the car, they call her phone to check on her, but she's still screaming as the car shakes and nearly falls. The pilot lowers the helicopter into the gap, and one of the rescuers descends on a rope to secure the car, with only 5 minutes before the helicopter engine overheats. As he gets close, the girl reaches out, causing the car to shake again. It stabilizes briefly, but suddenly slips, trapping the rescuer. The helicopter begins to shake as well, and the engine can't hold much longer. Ray decides to go down himself as black smoke starts coming from the helicopter. He reaches the car, pulls the door off, and gets the girl out. Then the pilot cuts the cable holding the car, causing it to fall and crash, but freeing the trapped rescuer. Ray manages to hold onto the girl safely. Later, at Caltech, Dr. Hayes is giving a lecture about massive earthquakes that cause destruction and death around the world. He talks about the San Andreas Fault, where tectonic plates meet in California, and says he's unsure whether such a place could cause a massive earthquake anytime soon. Afterward, Hayes goes to his office, where Dr. Park tells him about a small earthquake detected near the Hoover Dam. They decide to go investigate. Meanwhile, Ray returns home, and his daughter Blake calls asking for some things she left behind and needs for college. He suddenly hangs up when he finds divorce papers in the mail, leaving him deeply upset. Ray goes to Blake's room to get her things and finds family photos, including pictures of her late sister. At Hoover Dam in Nevada, Park and Hayes test a new seismic device, but they're shocked when they see a sudden spike in activity right before an earthquake hits. On top of the dam, Hayes tries to warn people to evacuate while Park is still inside, struggling to climb the stairs as the dam begins to collapse. Rocks fall, people panic and run, and the structure starts breaking apart as water bursts through, causing even more destruction. Park manages to get out, but then sees a girl with an injured leg. He stops to help her and runs as fast as he can while the ground collapses behind him. Suddenly, he stumbles and throws the girl toward Hayes before falling, only to realize his leg is trapped in a metal beam, leaving him stuck. He tells Hayes to take the girl and go. The dam collapses completely, and a massive wave of water kills him. Back to Ray, he receives a message from his boss about the earthquakes and is asked to report in. But first, he stops to deliver his daughter's belongings and runs into his ex-wife Emma and her boyfriend Daniel. Emma tells him she's moving in with Daniel, which makes Ray even more upset, and he leaves awkwardly to go to work. A few hours later, Blake goes with Daniel to his workplace. While waiting in the lobby, she meets a guy named Ben and his younger brother Ollie. At the same time, Hayes speaks with the same journalist, who contacts Ray and explains that before Park died, they confirmed their new device can predict earthquakes. Suddenly, Hayes' students interrupt with news of increased activity along the San Andreas Fault. Using this information, Hayes runs calculations and maps the fault, concluding that the entire San Andreas Fault is about to rupture. In Los Angeles, Emma is having lunch with Daniel's sister, who asks insensitive questions about the death of Emma's other daughter. Their conversation is interrupted when Emma receives a call from Ray, who apologizes for his behavior. Suddenly, the tables begin to shake, and the entire building trembles as an earthquake strikes. Looking out from the helicopter, Ray sees roads collapsing and asks Emma where she is, telling her to go to the rooftop so he can rescue her quickly. Back at Hayes' office, everyone takes cover under tables as their equipment shows this earthquake is 100 times stronger due to the San Andreas Fault, which has reactivated and is moving towards San Francisco. Meanwhile, Blake gets into a car with Daniel to leave, but the earthquake hits them too. Daniel tells the driver to get them out of there, and the car speeds off as buildings collapse and people run in panic. Suddenly, the ground opens up beneath them, and the car falls, crashing into a wall and getting trapped under debris. A piece of the roof pierces through, killing the driver instantly. The seat is crushed, trapping Blake's leg. Daniel tries to free her but fails, so he decides to go look for help. On the first floor, Daniel finds a security guard and asks for help, but the ceiling collapses on them. Terrified, Daniel runs away with the crowd. Meanwhile, Ben and Ollie hear him talking to the guard and decide to go find Blake. At the same time, Ray continues flying toward Los Angeles and sees the Hollywood sign collapsing, while fires and smoke rise from the city, and buildings begin to fall as well. Inside the restaurant, people are in a state of panic. Emma tries to open a door but finds a hole and a dead man. Suddenly, the kitchen oven explodes and the chef catches on fire. Emma realizes everyone needs to get to the roof, so she finds the emergency stairs and starts running up, while others are trying to escape downward. On the rooftop, the floor begins to collapse, and Emma falls through the debris to a lower level. She's in pain, bleeding, and dizzy, but she refuses to give up. She starts climbing back up through the rubble until Ray finally finds her. As he tries to get closer, something explodes and flames spread across the roof, forcing her to move away quickly. Ray hovers the helicopter to lower a rescue basket. Emma runs, dodging gaps in the floor, and jumps at the last second, managing to grab the basket just before that section collapses again. Ray quickly pulls her up and regains control of the helicopter, gripping the controls as it spins due to another building falling nearby. After intense shaking and even losing a door, Ray manages to stabilize it and fly away before the surrounding towers collapse on them. In San Francisco, Blake finds her phone and calls Ray for help, but the signal quickly drops. Ray tells Emma they will save her. At that moment, more debris falls onto the car. Meanwhile, Ben and Ollie find Blake and try to use a metal beam to free her, but this causes more rubble to fall. Then Ben finds a bag with a tire iron and uses it to lift the beam slightly, but only manages to raise it a small amount. Thinking quickly, he punctures the car tires to deflate them and create more space. It works, and they manage to pull Blake out just before the beam crushes the car. Back at Hayes' office, the team analyzes data from monitoring devices and concludes that what happened is only the beginning, and stronger aftershocks are coming. Hayes asks the journalists for help warning people, so they go to a media center and work with students to hack into the news broadcast. They announce to the entire country that more earthquakes are coming, predicting one with a magnitude of 8.5 or higher. Even though it will hit California, people as far as the East Coast may feel it. They urge San Francisco residents to evacuate as quickly as possible. Back with Blake's group, buildings begin collapsing, so they rush outside where people are running everywhere. After a while, the shaking stops, and they search for an electronics store because Ray told Blake to find an old phone that might still work if the power goes out. When they find one, Blake calls Ray and tells him Daniel left her, which makes Emma furious. Ray tells Blake to go to a higher location at Coit Tower and that he'll meet her there. After the call ends, Ben calls his family, and Emma tries to call Daniel but reaches voicemail, leaving him an angry message about what he did. Out on the street, Daniel is walking with other survivors when aftershocks suddenly cause another building to collapse. Panic breaks out as people run in every direction, and Daniel pushes others out of his way, even knocking a man into a cloud of dust. When the helicopter reaches the devastated city of Bakersfield, the engine suddenly explodes. Ray realizes they're going to crash, so he starts making risky maneuvers, going up and down trying to land. Unfortunately, the rotor hits a power pole, and the helicopter crashes into the front of a store. Thankfully, Ray and Emma survive without serious injuries. They notice people taking advantage of the chaos, looting stores and shooting wildly. They sneak around carefully until they find an open truck. Ray tries to start it, but a thief threatens him with a gun. Without hesitation, Ray takes the gun and knocks him out, then drives off with Emma. Later on the highway, they see an elderly couple with a broken-down car waving for help, but Ray initially ignores them. Suddenly, he slams on the brakes when Emma spots a massive crack in the road caused by the San Andreas fault. They go back to help the couple, and Ray notices the man is wearing a pilot's hat. The couple takes them to a nearby airfield as a way of thanking them. Ray and Emma leave the truck behind and take a small plane. Before taking off, Ray admits to Emma that he emotionally shut down after their daughter's death because he couldn't handle the pain, and he blames himself since it was his idea for them to go out that day. He apologizes for how he acted during their marriage, but Emma reassures him that no one could have saved their daughter and that he shouldn't blame himself. In San Francisco, Blake and her group are walking with others as a guard directs everyone toward evacuation routes. Suddenly, Blake spots an abandoned fire truck and takes an emergency supply box from it, which contains a radio and some food rations. Ben notices that Coit Tower is surrounded by fire and smoke, so Ollie checks his travel guide and finds that the second highest point is Nob Hill. The three of them decide to head there, even though it's in the opposite direction of the evacuation. After a while, the plane reaches San Francisco, but the airport is already on fire. Ray switches on the autopilot and says they'll have to jump with parachutes. Emma hesitates, so he straps her to his parachute and they jump together, landing safely a few minutes later in the middle of a baseball field. At that moment, another earthquake hits the area. Hayes and his team take cover under tables and realize this quake is even stronger. Meanwhile, in the streets of San Francisco, the three fall as the quake destroys power lines and buildings. They try to escape, but Ben falls and a piece of glass stabs his thigh. Ollie breaks down, and Blake does her best to comfort him while the city continues collapsing. Buildings fall, the bridge collapses, and even the sea starts violently shifting. When Ray and Emma arrive, Ray quickly tells people to take cover behind the field since it's away from collapsing buildings. A wounded woman who can't walk is carried by Ray to safety, and people gather by the wall just in time before debris hits. After making sure everyone is okay, Ray and Emma realize the destruction is too massive to move on foot or by car, so they decide to use a boat. Once the shaking stops, Blake removes the glass from Ben's leg and bandages the wound. At the same time, Hayes confirms on his computer that this is the largest earthquake ever recorded. Minutes later, Ray and Emma notice a tower on fire, and Ray figures Blake must have gone to another building. At that moment, he notices the water level rapidly changing and realizes a tsunami is coming. The warning reaches Blake through the radio, and sirens start going off across the city, meaning they won't make it to Nob Hill in time. Blake remembers a nearby building Daniel was working on and decides they should take shelter there. Along the coast, hundreds of boats try to escape but are met by a massive wave, flipping some of them over. Ray does his best to control the boat and reach higher ground, but they nearly collide with a huge cargo ship. At the last second, he steers away, though the ship sends containers crashing everywhere. The ship eventually crashes into the Golden Gate Bridge, killing many survivors, including Daniel and the elderly couple. Soon after, the tsunami destroys the bridge, floods San Francisco, and wipes out whatever the earthquake didn't. At the same time, Blake and the others run upstairs to the highest level they can reach since the stairs are blocked. But it's not enough. They see the tsunami coming toward them and hide behind pillars. Water crashes through the windows, flooding the building, which begins to tilt before getting wedged against another structure. Water keeps seeping in, and the three cling to anything they can to avoid being swept away. After a while, Ray and Emma arrive by boat and see the massive destruction, knowing Blake followed his instructions. They head toward a tall building to search for her. Back with Blake and the brothers, they notice a staircase has opened up, so they go up another level. There, Blake checks Ben's injury while he keeps thanking her. At that moment, Ollie notices the boat moving in the opposite direction, so he and Blake start banging on the windows to get their attention, but Ray and Emma don't hear them. Then Blake remembers Ollie has a laser pointer, so she tells him to aim it at the boat's control panel, and finally they are noticed. Suddenly, another wave hits, shattering windows and flooding another floor. Ben and Ollie swim toward the stairs to escape, but Blake gets trapped underwater behind a glass door and can't reach them as the water level rises rapidly. Ray leaves the boat with Emma and dives into the water, swimming toward the building. Inside, he sees Emma through the glass and tells her to wait while he tries to move the debris. Upstairs, Ben tells Ollie to stay somewhere safe while he goes back for Blake, but the building starts shaking again and water reaches them too. The water covers the small air pocket Blake was breathing from, and she loses consciousness underwater. In a desperate final effort, Ray pushes the debris aside and finally reaches his daughter. He carries her upward as he swims, meeting the brothers while the building continues sinking. Ray tries to perform CPR on Blake while Ben attempts to break the windows but isn't strong enough. Outside, Emma sees everything and rushes back with the boat, forcing her way inside. They all quickly get on the boat and escape just before the buildings collapse behind them. Ray keeps trying to revive Blake but almost gives up. Then he sees Emma crying, which pushes him to keep going. He refuses to lose another daughter. Suddenly, Blake wakes up, dazed but alive, and they all embrace in relief. Later, the National Guard and international rescue teams arrive to help survivors. People hang photos and messages on walls to honor those who didn't make it. Ray and his family look over what's left of the city, and he says it's time to rebuild. And that's the end of the movie. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel.